tumbling and turning over the waterfall, deep in the pool below. Over the rocks, laughing in bubbles, round and round we go.
Well, I'm in Northern California. Huckleberry and Doc are just starting building me a roundhouse that will look something like this when it will be finished. I'll just give you a tour into Huck's roundhouse, so you will have a slightest clue how it should look like. Simply decorated. So we're now going to see them in action. So this is a beautiful temple here, built by Huckleberry last year. And we're going. Doc, can you explain what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm taking the bark off the pole, making it smooth and white. And that's about it. Just sit and chip the bark off or tear it with my hands. Break a piece off and it sometimes goes a long ways. Until the tree is clean. It's my favorite part of the job.
Hello.
Hello.
I've got not good light on your face, but could you tell me what you're doing?
Well, how you would call it in English?
Sanding.
Sanding the log.
Smoothing the log.
And those are going to be rafters for the house.
Yes.
And I see you have your songbook with you as well. You sing while you work.
Well, I hope I'm not annoying the other people.
Oh, I was just thinking how much I loved it.
Okay.
Oh,
When it's less hot, I'm also sick.
well, there goes Doc, walking away.
I'm not going to include. Doc, can you explain to me what you're doing?
I'm putting the final touches on the pole, the uprights. Got half of them done now.
And how much poles we need to build the roundhouse?
There are 18 poles that are just over 2 meters long.
This ones?
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be what?
They'll be the sides scissored together. And then there are 9 rafters which are over 3 meters long, just barely.
There'll be the roof?
And that will be the roof, with a 2-foot overhang on each side, almost more than 2 foot. Then the short pieces that where you're standing will be the pieces that go around the top.
Okay.
Oh, you think you can cut those yet already?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I can cut some of them. I can't, maybe not.
Because I remember you were cutting each one separate last year.
Oh, I'm just, yeah. They're all.
You'll cut them again, maybe.
Maybe in the end when you know the
They're all an
distance.
average of 60 inches. I just went and measured. The shortest one was 48, but we'll try and be more even this time.
Okay, so what else need to be done? Like, where you got the wood from? What kind of wood is it?
It's Douglas fir, and it's amazing wood because although, I don't know if you can get a picture of this or not,
I can probably.
but each one of those is a growth ring.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tight grained wood. It's quite old, and some of them, the smaller ones, are even tighter. I mean, you can see how. So this is normally in an open forest, this would be 4 years worth of growth, but it's more like 20 or better. So
Wow.
they're really strong poles. They're like
And how you call that?
And very straight.
and very straight. Yeah, it's Douglas fir.
And it come from this land?
It came from just right up the road there on this land. And it's just actually, it's a good thing for the forest. We're thinning the trees out, but they're like that's why they're so tall and skinny, is because they've been competing. But there's bigger trees that are shading them out, and they're starting to die. So it's actually good for the forest and good for us.
Okay. And what else? After you cut them, you peel them and you...
Cut them, drag them down to the hill, peel them, and if you peel them when they're fresh, cut, they actually peel like you just pull it off.
You know, like a banana.
Like a banana.
Wow.
But once it gets dry, then you have to cut the bark off.
And then
No,
you
I don't do that.
sand them, or...
Not yet, no, just cut, knock the knots off and then cut them to length. And then
smooth them out with
he's
the
smoothing
slither
them out,
machine.
and when they're smoothed out, they'll get joined like this with an eye bolt through here that holds them into place, and then these become the framework in a circle around the frame. And the rafters will sit in between here like that and go up to the reciprocating roof.
Okay. So what is the next step now? Putting
After
them
he's
together?
done doing this, then we will mark holes at the right distance down from the top and drill through both of them, and then put the eye bolt through. And then we also, well, actually later we'll drill the bottom for the rope on the bottom, because that's really not even necessary.
Okay. So Huckleberry, what are you doing now?
I'm working on the uprights that are going to be crossed for the roundhouse.
Okay.
I've got these laid out in pairs that are matched pretty evenly in size. So if I've
Okay.
got two big ones, which these are, put these two together.
Maybe you get closer to here so we can hear you better.
What I'm doing right now is lining them up so that they touch right along here. They're as tight as they can fit, because sometimes you have to, it's more difficult when they're bent. When I find what I think is the best alignment I'm going to get right there, then I'll mark where I'm going to drill the hole 8 inches down from the top.
How long is the whole pole?
The whole pole is 7 feet,
Okay.
84 inches, over 2 meters, and 8 inches down. I'm going to drill through this way, put an eye bolt through there, and then tighten that up, and then we can open it up and it'll become the upright for the house with the eye bolt out here. And the rope around.
Okay.
I've got these marked 8 inches down from the top, 7 feet long. Now I'm going to drill through. And I've got this line that marks where my line for drilling goes, so I know where to aim the drill approximately. I just drill through halfway from one side and then turn it over, so it can also, as it tears the grain out on the back. Battery's dead. That's as much as I can drill, I think.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
What's the size of this driller? Like, what's the size of the hole?
It's done in inches, so I don't know metric, but it's a 3/8 drill bit and 5/16 inch bolts is the size I'm using.
Can you show the bolts?
Yes.
Special bolts?
Yeah, the eye bolt.
Can we...
And this allows the rope to go through that makes the tension to hold it together.
Okay, and you put something between the bolt and the...
Yeah. I'm using fender washers. There's one on either side of the wood, and then one in between the two pieces of wood as well, just to make it open up and close, because this is a portable roundhouse. You need to be able to fold it down and load it into the back of your truck or on top of your car.
Okay, you show us when it's ready.
Yes.
What's that weird looking piece you have in
It's
there?
called a spade bit, and it's the same size as the washer.
Uh-huh.
And so from the post where the two poles meet together on the back sides of those, or on the outsides, and make a place for the washer to land. It just makes a little flat spot.
Can you show that? Okay.
And then I do one on the other one as well. And then just a little bit of sandpaper, because everybody else does a nice job finishing these. I don't want to mess them up.
Okay, we have to know all this.
And then you can put this piece in there. Now, puts that together, and now that opens up and becomes one of the uprights for the house, and the eye bolt allows the rope to run through, and that's gives the strength for the whole thing to build it. And this is number 7. I think this house is going to have 9 uprights in it.
Can you explain what you're doing?
I'm going to drill the holes through the bottoms of these for the rope to go through to hold it into a ring. And to get the right angle, I have to get them at the right spread apart, which is about 52 inches apart, and then drill them. That's just a straight through hole.
And how long from the bottom?
Maybe 2 inches, very little, just enough for the rope to run through.
And what is the size of the hole?
It's the rope is 3/8 and the hole is over half. I think it's 5/8, so it's enough room to slide through easily.
Okay.
So the hole is just a couple inches up and level through.
Next step was finding a location for the roundhouse, and I think I kind of got it. Let's have a nice view. But first we need to shovel this whole area. It's just under a manzanita and oak tree. They decided to live in symbiosis. It's really nice. And we have a really nice hill here with a view of the mountains. But my back is not really into shoveling this morning, so we'll take it easy. Building a roundhouse is a very hard job. You have to really sit under a tree and think. And that's how Huckleberry looks like when he thinks.
Waiting for the Buddha moment.
No, he waits for the apple to drop on his head. Then he realizes the power of gravity. Anyway, what are we doing now?
Well, we're going to lay out the circle for the roundhouse that we're going to put up.
I see a strange pole. What is it signifying?
Just to mark the center of the house. And since it's a 12-foot diameter roundhouse, the radius, which is 6 feet, and I've laid the radius out there around that center pole, and now I'm going to,
With a line.
with a string that's 6 feet from loop to loop, and I'm just going to walk around and scratch a line on the surface, which will create the circle. And then there's 9 pairs of uprights that go around that. And so the next thing after we mark the circle is to divide it up into 9 segments, and then put the posts right on the segments, and that sets out the circle. And that's what the point we're at.
Okay, so that's what we're doing now? So why you were calculating so much?
Because I have to figure out how wide each leg has to spread, how far.
How far it is? Did you find an answer?
I was just calculating it out, and my mind's not real good at it. But to figure out that the diameter of a circle, which is what you want to do, it's pi 3.14 times the diameter, which is 12. And that gets figured out into inches. And with this case, it would be much easier in millimeters. So
But didn't you know it because you had to kind of make you had to know the space between the two?
I know it's approximately between 48 and 52 inches. But I want to be more exact this time because the other ones they're different, and I want to try and be more precise.
Okay. So we'll come back to you when you figure it out.
Yeah, I'll know exactly what it is. It would be easier with a pen and paper. This has got a loop at 6 feet.
Okay.
And so that gives us the radius for a 12-foot circle. And this is as far out as we can go. So that puts the center there. So how would you like it adjusted? Which way?
Flow with the river, fall with the snow, round and round we go. Round and round we go.
Okay, why do we have 2 circles?
Well, we drew the first set of lines and looked at it, and 12 foot looked a little small to us. And so we just moved it out another foot, or 7-foot radius. Now we have a 14-foot circle, which feels better. And it doesn't make any difference when you're first setting up the frame. It just means you spread the legs out a little wider or closer together. So it's really adaptable. It's one of the beauties of the whole design.
Okay, so what's next now?
Next I have to calculate how far apart to put the legs, and then mark them with little sticks. So I'm going to sit down and do some
Think more.
mathematics.
Okay.
I don't like, but no calculator.
Okay.
So I took 14 feet as the diameter. The formula is 3.14 or pi times diameter, which is 14. So that gave me this figure here. What did I do here?
I don't know. In the end, what's the number?
48.8 inches.
Okay.
We'll say 50 inches because I've got to allow for the curve.
Okay.
But just I'm going to make sure I did this right again. Got this figured out better now. It's figure out the diameter, or the diameter all the way, the circumference is 3.14 times the diameter, which gives it in feet. We took 7 feet as the radius, and then multiply by 12, which gives you the number of inches. circumference and then divide that by 8 because there's 8 open spaces but 9 posts.
Why 12?
12 inches in a foot. And we figured it out in numbers of feet and then had to figure it out in numbers of inches so I could divide by
Okay, I don't understand none of that system, but
inches. It would be way easier if we were using millimeters.
yeah.
Then you wouldn't have to do any change.
Anyway, you had to divide it by 8 in the end because we have 8 spaces
And 9
and 9
pieces.
poles. So now we are just marking where the pole's gonna be. Okay.
Okay, now we're going to place these supports around in the circle, up to the stick on either side, the ring facing out, and for consistency for the connecting piece we're going to put around, the piece that's closest to you goes off to the right. It doesn't matter, it could be off to the left, but see there's one back piece in the front, back in the front piece to the right. So just laying these out right now and then just fold them down. Create a beautiful star as we go around and lay these out.
What are you doing now?
Well, we just laid out the star, which is laying all the support pieces around the circle, which is the beautiful the star. Now we're drilled the holes, the base, where they meet. Now we're going to run the rope, which creates the circle.
Okay. What are you doing?
So we drilled these holes in here earlier. Now we're going to run the rope through the holes. And go all the way around, and that connects the bottom and holds the hoop in place. And it usually requires somebody's assistance.
And I assume I'm somebody,
Yes, that would be the case.
so I'm coming. Huckleberry, what is this strange wires going on here?
In order to get these to stay in place while we're putting up the frame and placing the rafters and bolting it together, the ideal thing is to get them to stay where you want them, which is vertical and not too prone to sliding. You can adjust this by moving it one way or the other, but it holds it in place. And so I'm just locking each one in place by coming up out of the center and over.
How you do it?
It just slides through the top here.
Yeah, but what you done? You put how those ropes stay in the ground?
Peg
What
in the middle, and then it goes over with a little bit of friction in the fitting and down to a peg on the back, and that locks these in place. And we're just going to go all the way around and do the whole thing, and then we'll have the frame.
Okay, can you do one and show us?
Yeah. This tied onto peg in the middle, and I'm going to take it up. The rope's already through the bottom to hold the bottom into place. And this just
Just a minute. I
crosses
see.
up and over.
What you doing here? Can you do it? Okay, you cross up
Cross
and
it,
over.
and that gives it a little bit of friction so it stays in place.
Okay.
And that's what we're after, is being able to adjust it and still hold it into place. And then a peg. And that's why we do this. Because elsewise you're picking it up all the time. And this is really a technique that I've figured out in order to be able to set it up by oneself, which if you had 9 people, 9 friends to work on it, you wouldn't need to do this. I'm not tying that knot there, so.
Why?
Because I don't want to cut Doc's rope, I'll come over to that one and go back over again. Keep it longer.
Okay, but you had a special note you wanted to show us.
Yeah, you come over here and I can show it to you. This hitch is used all the time for doing tents. Anything where you want a cord that you can adjust and make tighter. And we'll use it a lot on here. And you go over and over, so you've got a double loop there. And then come around and come over that. So it looks like that. But the beauty of it is you can adjust it and it will stay in place wherever you put it. So you can adjust the tension.
Okay.
Okay, now we've got all these uprights locked into approximate position, and on the spots where they belong I can tighten this rope here with the same knot and lock the ring into place.
What, the green one?
Yes.
And what you doing now?
Just looking at the adjustment on where those are set. Now we can run the green rope all the way around and tie the top together. It's not really.
Okay.
I'm going to tie this off with the same taut line hitch again. The first thing we do is put a loop.
Can you show us the loop?
Just fold over and then just tie a half hitch, just an over and a hand knot. And that gives us a loop.
Can you show it? Okay.
I'm not going to tighten this too far right now because it is pull it out of shape, but I can secure it. Same knot again, taut line hitch.
Can you show it slowly? I'm sorry, you know the knot, so it's
Okay,
kind of
go
obvious
through
for
the
you.
loop and come back and go on the inside of the loop twice. 1, 2. And then 1/2 loop on the other side of it. And then tighten. And I'll tighten that to final tension after we get the rafters in place. Okay, now this can get tightened.
We're gonna to get them straight. What are we gonna do now?
Yeah, that would be the thing to do, is make sure all these are level, and then all the rafters come up.
How you make sure everything is leveled? Can you demonstrate?
So it needs to out. Until it's hard to get this. You want to get it lined up on there and the inside of that, and that's pretty good. So it's lined up on the rope down below, and the meeting point right there.
Okay. And you're gonna do this for all the rafters?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Doc.
Call me?
Yeah?
You need me?
No, but I thought you might want to look at this, since you might want to set one of these up sometime.
Okay, what are you doing now?
Setting the rafters into place.
How are you gonna do that?
Not so easy with all these strings in the way. one rafter at each intersection pointing into the middle.
Okay, one on another, like you're gonna put it in the end, or?
Yeah, just put in here like this.
You need a cat in the end of each rafter?
Yeah, the cat's important. You know, you're a silly cat. You shouldn't fight with things bigger than you are.
Okay, we need to bring more rafters anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and Doc brought the Charlie pole.
What is a Charlie pole?
It's going to hold the first rafter in place.
What make it a Charlie pole?
Forked stick on the end. So when it goes up, the first rafter will sit right in there.
Okay, we had a change of a strategy. You want to explain to us what's going on?
Yes. As soon as I get this. Okay, as we put up the frame, we found out that even with these strings here, because they could be tied more securely, but they weren't tied secure enough, and it still wanted to fall over, and so I've decided to put the hinge piece all the way around, and then we can take these strings out of the way to put the rafters up in it.
This is the hinge you put.
This hinge is piece
Okay.
that forms the ring up at the top and makes it look like Stonehenge.
Okay.
That's why it's called the hinge. And it's just done with two, drilled and fastened with two bolts with wing nuts. So this is the part when you were take it apart, you would take these off and remove these pieces, but these pieces don't have the wing nut because they fold together and stay together when you move it.
Okay.
So-
So you want to show us how you do the next?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I get this angle.
What is this thing?
It's called a bevel gauge. It measures angles
Okay.
and holds them in place. So now I've got the right angle of that. Then I transfer that over to the end of the post and make that cut. And then measure the distance between these 2 points right above the bolt, which is where that piece is going to fit. And it's exactly the same as the other one, 54 inches. So I'll mark the other end of this at 54. And then mark that bevel again.
And then just because I need to help you, just demonstrate how we're gonna put it.
Fit in right here and get bolted into place.
What is right here? Can you kind of?
It's on the angle, right above the rope, right in line with this one. And
But one is inside and one is outside. I
Yeah.
see what that means.
it's just for consistency. All these are laid out. Remember when we laid them out, we put the one to the right
Yeah.
to the closest to us. Now, if you had an even number, if you say there was 10 or 12 sides, then you could alternate them and you'd have one on the inside, one on the outside, one on the inside. This way it goes outside, inside, inside, and kind of joggles as it goes.
Okay.
Flow with the river, fall with the snow, round and round we go.
Okay, it's the last one.
The last one.
Coming to help. Yeah. It is nice. Okay, so what are we doing now?
Well, we're going to put up the rafters next. We can take these sticks out, put those together.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
so what's that?
we're getting ready to place the Charlie pole, which is the one that holds the first rafters and doesn't get removed until the last rafter is in place. And to determine the height to make Charlie, it needs to be the height from the ground up to the top of the hinge, which is 74 inches, plus the rafters where they're going to meet are about 2 inches, so 9 times 2 is 18, so we add 18 and 74 and get 74, 84, 92 inches is how tall it needs to be to the fork on Charlie, and this isn't tall enough, so I'm going to put it on a block.
Huckleberry?
All right, I'm getting ready to set the Charlie pole. I've got the height right, and all I have to do is I've got this on a block to hold it in place, and I have to make a tripod to lock it into place while we build. And I'm
Okay.
putting that point, that would be directly the middle. That's going to be probably a little big. I'm going to make the skylight hole about there and see how that goes. And then we'll just tie it. We'll have to get some wire and we'll tie it until we get done at the end and then adjust everything.
Okay, coming to help. So what are we doing now, Huckleberry?
We're going to put the rafters up now. And the way I'm going to do that, I've got them all in place where they're going to go, and I've got the first rafter sitting on the Charlie pole. And the first rafter is set slightly off center to the left to create the spiral motion. By creating that, we create the skylight hole in the middle that has that sense of motion to it. If we went straight in, which would be directly across like that, we'd create a top that looks like a yurt that all goes to a pointer like a teepee. With this offset, just one segment, not even a full segment, off to the left, creates the motion.
Okay,
So
so
I'm going to follow that same pattern as I go around, and so again,
anti-clockwise to create a circle that is
it
clockwise.
moves clockwise.
Okay.
You might even want to take a picture from inside and watch the skylight hole form as it goes.
Okay.
I'm going to continue the pattern again, keeping the same offset. It also, you can tell if you're on course when you look at the way the skylight's forming together, if each segment has about the same length of pole before the next, meaning this spot, that's right, the spacing stays fairly the same, that far as that far as that far. So you're spacing them out. It naturally produces itself as you build the spiral.
Just a minute, I'm sorry. Take it off. Just a minute, Huckleberry, don't put it yet. Okay.
Okay, that completes the circle. And now we can take the Charlie pole out.
Just a minute. What are you doing?
I'm going to take the Charlie pole down now. And you'll just watch the roof drop into place. And now we have a self-supporting roof. That looks pretty good and is really strong. And that's not even fastened into place yet. That's just held in place by its own weight. Nice.
Nice.
Oh, it's beautiful to look up here and see the tree.
I'm
I think we should
coming.
leave it big. I like it. Here's Clara jumping on the roof of her new house.
Well, it's quite a nice house. Contained. You can come visit.
It has a beautiful view of the sun.
Well, what's next? What are we going to do next?
I love this oak tree here. All right.
So next we're going to kind of put them into place permanently.
Yeah, we're going to drill holes through them and tie them onto the bolts, the eye bolts that are sticking out on the back. That will lock them into place, and then put a pin through the top, a bolt with a wing nut on it, so it can be taken apart and moved, but it's locked in place, and that'll just make it a little bit stronger, so it'll take strong winds and good weather.
Okay, so let's start doing that.
We're going to drill a hole that goes through both of the rafters and put a pin there so it's locked into place, and that will give it and then much more strength, and it'll enable you to put it back together again after you move it. Could you hand me a bolt, please? Thank you. So I'm going to put the bolt through. It's the only reason we want a longer bolt, or shorter bolt, and I have to screw it so far. And then just work the way around.
Flow with the river, fall with the snow, round and round we go. Round and round we go.
I'm drilling through each of the rafters at the same distance from the tail, which is in this case 34 inches. I just already drilled the first one and got my marking from that, so I'll make them all the same so that when she makes the cover, it'll be the
But
same.
you said the edges are in different length.
They're not, I'm changing that now.
What do you mean?
I'm making them all the same length. I readjusted the top so that that would happen.
You already done that?
I think. I'm just checking that now. Every one of them is coming out perfect so far. That one's too short.
Well, can I offer something? Instead of taking the measurement from the end, take it from the rafter.
No,
Then it will be for sure the same.
what I'll do is I'll trim all the ends to the same, or we'll leave it longer on
Why?
this side to make a porch. Because that's the only way you can do it. The hole has to be where it is. This knot is what we use to tie the rafter into place, and it's important to get it right because it gives a proper amount of friction. So coming from the left, come through the ring, and then the other side of the rafter hole,
Can you? Okay.
and then back through the ring again on this side. And that creates a cross in there that helps when it's under pressure to lock that into place. And so each one will lash that way as we go through. It's almost a lashing.
Why are you taking it apart?
just to move it along, because I have to. This has to move all the way around.
Ah, okay.
In through here, through the fuzzy side of the rafter. And then back through from this side. And that creates a lashing. It's going to hold this down. It can't go up now. And now the roof is locked in place. It can't go down, it can't go up. And as we cinch that up, it just really locks everything into place. But I've got to quit right now because I've got to go get a battery. I'm going to put the last one in here. Through, back again. Then to here. Then I'm going to put a loop on it so we can do the same kind of a tightening knot that we've done here when we come back around again.
Can you show again? It's a good time to show that knot.
Make an overhand loop. And then this gets run through it. And then we'll tie the top line hitch and go ahead and cut this. I'm going to burn it in half. So. Okay, now I'm going to just go around and cinch all this up so that it's in line, making sure this is right over the... The string is somewhat elastic, so you can put a lot of tension on it. And it settles everything in. And then the way it's run through there, it binds it together so that it can't slip away so easy.
Round and round we go. Ride the wind, follow the tide, soar with the eagle above, flow with the river, fall with the snow. Round and round we go. Round and round we go.
Can we announce this roundhouse is completed?
The portable frame is done now. The last thing to be done before you took it apart to move it was to number everything. We'll call this one number 1. This rafter will be number 1, and this connecting piece will go between 1 and 2. And so everything gets a number and it goes back in the same place the next time, and that makes it way easier. Everything fits just right, and it'll look exactly like this. Now the next thing you do is just get a cover on it.
Yay. Okay.
All right, it's a new morning, and today's the day we get to put the roof on the house, the cover. And the first thing I have to do is cut off the tops of the uprights so that the tarp doesn't get poked by them. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is just cutting them off. You can see it, that one there at the angle, a little bit of an angle, so that you don't have bumps sticking up on the roof. The tarp will just sit right on there and run right back.
What are you doing?
Test fitting the cover of the roundhouse to make sure that it's big enough all the way around before we cut it.
How big it is?
This is a 20 by 40, and we've got it folded in half, so it's 20 by 20.
And it is enough?
I believe it's enough.
Okay, let's cut it. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a rounded tour into the round hut. That is the new name of what we build here. We have the female and male tree here. This is my neighbor. And back. Okay, you can. Hey. Psst. Hey. Okay. So first of all, we take our shoes off. You can come with me. Well, there are people like the one taking this photo, Huckleberry, that doesn't have any shoes, so they didn't come without their shoes. And this is my little humble hut, which is have a how you call floor to floor carpet? We call it in
Wall to
wall
wall.
to wall carpet. And me my furniture. You can take the. I can also do my morning yoga on the. Not that I'm doing stuff like that. On the ceiling.
Round and round we go. Round and round we go. Minutes and hours, days and seasons, circling the sun we go. Beginnings and endings really don't matter. Where we are now is all that matters.